What's good, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Get Defensive Sports Network's Power 2 podcast. As always, I'm your host, Jordan, and I'm here with my co host, DJ. And we have not recorded live in weeks.
I know. I
How are you
know.
living?
I am fantastic. And you know why I'm fantastic? Because this, and I know you are going to be like, "Bleh," but I don't care. I'm saying it anyways. This is our 1 year anniversary of this show ish. It's on the day you're listening to it, it's the 1 year anniversary. So obviously, this is the day before. And I just feel so overjoyed to be doing this again. I am so excited. This is my second full season of college football. I feel like a new person. I can't believe I've been living my life this entire time, not watching it every Saturday. So, like, it's cute. I'm excited. I'm living good. I have lashes on today. It's a good
So,
day.
it's a good day. Well, I'm happy for you. I'm happy for us, a year. I'm happy for you that you finally listened to me and recognized the joy of college football. I genuinely believe, and the thing is, it's always funny because like I don't press like my friends about many things. So it's just like if I'm pressing you, it's probably because it's like I'm not saying I'm always right, but if I'm pressing you, I'm probably right. And I've been trying to get more of my friends like watch college football, especially if you like football, because just like the NFL, in my opinion, is just watered down compared to
Yeah.
college sports. And if you like college sports, I feel like if you like sports, almost all of them, I think the college version is better. Like, and
A
not on
lot
some
of
like old,
times, yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
not on like some old stuff. Because there's a lot of people be like, it's better because they're not getting paid. That's dumb. It's just like less medicinal, like less like sometimes professional sports feels like when you go into a hospital.
Well, professional sports are a lot more they're less risky, right? Because these people like winning is what pays the bills. Winning is what gets them to. Not saying that that's not the same for college, but it is a little different when your job and your everything like is hinging upon whether or not you win. So the game itself just becomes more formulaic, and it becomes more like
Yeah,
we're gonna run the triangle offense in basketball instances. Like we're gonna do the more simple plays. We're not gonna do flea flickers in the NFL because the chances of failure is higher than just doing a regular, handoff. So it's just like it's a matter of like the game just becomes less like exciting because the I feel like the point is a little bit different. Whereas like
yeah. It
in
feels
college
like
it's
when you,
like what was I about to say? In college it's like, you're putting it all out there. You're still auditioning when you're in college. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Once you make it college, you made it. So
yeah. It sort of feels like when you go to a hospital. It's just sterilized. It's very kind of
yeah, yeah,
white and gray, bright light. Like, I mean,
yeah.
the example that
Smells
I'll
like
give to this.
alcohol.
Yeah, like the example that I'll give to this is like I've been listening to I say this all the time. I listen to a lot of sports podcasts. That's what I do. And I was listening to some NFL podcasts, and they've been talking about Patrick Mahomes and just like how he's still the best, if not one of the best quarterbacks of all time. But now he's like physically to watch, he's boring.
Yeah.
Like you could argue that he's more effective, but like he's not as much doing
It's not
the crazy
exciting.
throws. He's not
Yeah.
doing the running around. Even like Josh Allen is doing it, but he's doing it even less than he was. Right? Like you
Yeah.
like to reach a certain level, you sort of just have to like hone some of that stuff down. And so, again, it does not make you any less good of a quarterback, but it does make you mildly less exciting to watch. Like Patrick Mahomes 3, 4 years ago was much more exciting to watch than last year. And last year's also a little bit tough because of his wide receivers and things like that. But like just
Yeah.
like if you take everyone off the field, if you were just watching him, how he performed in the pocket, when he ran, the types of throws he made, like that sort of stuff. If he slid like that, like he just he's more sterile. It's just like a more,
It's
he's
formulaic. It's like we do
yeah,
this, we do this, we do this. We do this, or we do this, or we do this. Because, and then again, I think it's also interesting using Pat Mahomes as an example because of like the immense success that Kansas City has had. So you can imagine it's going to start to become a little formulaic at a point because it's been working for them,
yeah.
So it's like there's also that because I feel like you could say the same thing about Tom Brady during that Super Bowl run where it's like he
Well,
was
Tom
not
Brady was
always
never fun to
he
watch,
was never the most exciting quarterback to watch, but
but he got the
what
job done.
they accomplished was what was exciting about the Patriots. So I think that's the other thing too is like because Pat Mahomes still has it in him, like a little bit, like
Yes.
he did, but it's not ever going to be at that level. Also, because the hunger isn't there. How many Super Bowls has he won now? Three, two? I don't know. I'm
Something.
sorry,
Yeah.
I'm not a ring counter. I don't know, but he's been to the Super Bowl a lot. Is the point?
Yes.
He's won multiple times. Is the point? So he's not as hungry in the same way that he would have been in his first couple years in the league, where he's playing with one of the worst teams. Now he's playing with one of the best teams, and they're just going to keep doing what they need to do to stay the best team. So it's like I don't know, but either way, the college version of football is immensely better. I have been converted, but I also feel
Yeah.
like it's important because, like, to note that, like, I just didn't grow up in an environment where we watched college football. I grew up in an environment where we watched NFL. My
Yeah.
family is Cowboys fans, so like, we're watching NFL. We're watching the Cowboys. Like, we're not watching college football ever. And if we were watching it, we were going to watch like the bigger brands like Texas and stuff like that. So
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the last thing on this, because like we've made our point. I talk about this all the time. I also just think because of the age, there's just more excitement. Like just like, and I don't even just talk about like celebrations. Like NFL celebrations are fun. Like they're all
oh
a
yeah,
bunch of grown ass man child, and I say that
doing High School
positively.
Musical
Like yeah,
choreography.
you know what I mean. Like that's not. It's just like. It's just kind of like the joy and the passion. I feel like it's a little bit different. You get like the turnover chains and the
Yeah, we had
theatrics
club
and some
turnover at
of
SMU.
yeah,
Yeah,
and like some of that sort of stuff. And then the last thing is just the to your point of sort of being formulaic. The NFL is also formulaic because there's nothing new under the sun.
yeah.
So like at this point, at least a third of the NFL runs the same offense
Mm-hmm.
because it came from the Kyle Shanahan tree. Like everyone
Mm-hmm.
wants a Shanahan guy. Like defense is a little bit more different, but like there's that still, maybe it's not a third, but maybe it's a fifth, right, of them that are running the same defense, or there's
Yeah,
like two main sort of defensive styles. And so it's really just like who does the same thing the best. And then as soon as
yeah,
it works, you hire that guy's offensive coordinator and then he does the same thing. And then when that works, like when he leaves, they put up the wide receivers coach and he does the same thing, and
yeah.
then he's good, so someone else hires him, and it just now
It's
you're
the
at
same tree. Yeah,
2025 where
yeah.
10, 12, 15 of the teams are running some version of Kyle Shanahan's offense. Like, so I also think it's just more variety
I
in
didn't think
various
about that either.
things.
Yeah, that's true. And I think that's what made the Detroit Lions as entertaining as they were last year because they probably had one of the most unique offenses that anybody had really seen in a long time. Because why is that man's name leaving my head? Dan, what's their coach's name?
Dan Campbell.
Dan Campbell. He's running a
Did
lot of the shit that he ran when he was a player, obviously, when he played on the Cowboys. And, right? Did I just make that
he
up?
play on the Cowboys?
He did.
Yeah. Well,
Not
he's
for the
doing
majority of
that.
his career,
Yeah,
but
he's doing that, and his offensive coordinator is also a Sean Payton guy. So they're running a lot of like early 2010s
exactly.
New Orleans Saints stuff. But then
Exactly.
to that point, that offensive coordinator is now the head coach of the Bears.
Yeah.
So the Bears are about to be running that, and then
Yeah.
they promoted someone. So it's only two teams, but like if they're successful, now you get another one next year. Maybe it's three teams, right? Like
Yeah. But it's
we
at
don't
least
know
more
that. So
entertaining.
it's
It's at
yes,
least more entertaining. And that's one thing I can give them is that the Detroit Lions for me was the most fun team to watch besides watching Washington. But I was watching Washington because I was watching Jaden because Jaden
yeah.
was interesting. But that's one thing that's fun. Or even the whole like Philly tush push, the brotherly shove thing that only Philly was running. They tried to get it banned. They
Yeah,
didn't get it banned. But it's
because
fun because it's their thing.
yeah, because they're trying to they like no fun league. Like they literally talk about the
But
NFL's no fun league. They literally tried to ban it. So it's just
they tried to ban it.
whatever.
And I
You
love
all,
that they stood on business and said, no, we're not banning it. Because there's nothing wrong with the play. Y'all just mad because
yeah.
you don't have a defense for it. Figure it out.
Hey,
Watch
you know what
some
I'm
film.
saying?
I don't know. Get some bigger niggas. I don't know. But figure it
Something,
out. Like
something. Listen,
it's
but
fun to watch. Please. We like to watch it. We love to know that when they're on the 4th and 1, no matter where they are on the field, they're gonna give us a brotherly shove. It's fun. Shit.
you know, I'm with it. I'm with it. So, yeah,
Anyway,
I mean, if you're listening to the show, you like college football. We got DJ on our side on the and yeah, I mean, I still watch the NFL. I watch it every week, but college football is definitely my sort of go
that's
to
the highlight.
for sure. So to hop into the podcast, we have one. Well, first of all, it's preview season, so football is here. I've been seeing a bunch of things I think that says that we're 6 weeks away. So this is my time. This is my reminder that if you are listening to this podcast, we get better during the football season because that's, I mean, like this podcast more than others, we do talk about other sports, but like football is my main thing. So like there's a lot to talk about in football season. Also, tell your fans, tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, like, you know, help us help you. Share
Because
the
like
podcast. Don't be greedy. Like
you love
what
us, our
you
personalities are great. Share it with the world.
and I understand that there's a lot of people, right? There's a lot of people. Everyone's number goes up in the season. If you care about football, you may not be listening to a podcast that talks about football in May. You may not be listening to a podcast that's talking about the WNBA in May because you only watch football. You have a coworker that only watches football. Whatever. Well, it's football season. Share the podcast. Send the link. You know where to find us on YouTube. Get Defensive Sports Podcast Network. On Instagram, Get Defensive Sports Network. On TikTok, GD
GD
Sports.
Sports Network.
Like, stop playing.
Period.
It's
Join
preview
us.
season, and we are previewing today the Big 12. The Big 12, the arguably the most fun conference, the most and inarguably the most chaotic.
Oh my gosh. Mess. Just mess.
Like,
Are we not doing the news then?
no, we are
Oh, fabulous. Continue. Mess. Just mess.
just mess. But before that, of course, we do have news. We have things that we want to talk about. Really, only one thing. Unrivaled signed 14 women's basketball players to NIL deals. If you do not remember what Unrivaled is, or you do not know what Unrivaled is a new 3-on-3 basketball league that was founded by two current WNBA players, Nafisha Collier and Stewie,
Yes.
and Brianna Stewart of the Minnesota Lynx and the New York Liberty. And it is a off-season iteration of
Option.
basketball option so that people
Yeah.
don't have to go overseas. They don't have to deal with sort of the politics and the travel and being away from their family and things like that. But they also get paid more money, and it was very fun. It is was very successful, and the brand is growing. And they signed 14 players. DJ, do you want to talk
Yes.
about the 14 players? Do you want to
Of
talk about
course. I'm
Unrivaled?
going to
How are we
rattle them off,
doing? What are we doing?
obviously. So, this is obviously not the first time that Unrivaled has signed college players to NIL deals. Last year, they had Flau'jae Johnson and Paige Beckers as the college players that they had signed. And they just did simple things, promotion, videos, those sorts of things. So, we can imagine that these deals are going to turn out a similar way. But what's really cool is that Nafisa Collier has been very clear about what it is that they're really wanting to do, and that is partnering with, highlighting, and continuing to elevate and platform the best players in women's basketball. And they want to start as early as possible and help build these women's platforms before they even get to the WNBA. So the 14 players are as follows. Juju Watkins,
Of
duh,
course.
Lauren Betts, Hannah Hidalgo, Azzy Fudd, Sarah Strong, Olivia Miles, Madison Booker, Kiki Rice, Mylasia Fulwiley, Audi Crooks, Tanaya Latson, Silas Swords, and Sienna Betts, which is Lauren Betts' little sister. All of those names, if you are a women's basketball college fan, should be recognizable to you. Most of them, at least, especially if with the Sarah Strong, Mylasia Fulwiley, Juju Watkins, they have really high profiles. Juju Watkins, what a flex! She is an investor in this league, and now she's basically getting paid to promote it, which is like lit as fuck. But a lot of people are thinking that this is kind of the Unrival's way of showing that they are really trying to position themselves as a developmental league for the WNBA. If the WNBA is not going to invest in a sort of G League sort of structure like the NBA has, or a summer league or things like that, where there's a place for this young talent to be fostered and developed, I think Unrivaled is basically raising their hand and saying we're going to be that place for them. So I don't know if it's going to turn into actual play from them. I don't think so. I don't think they can.
No, because it
But
happens during college basketball season.
yeah, so it's not going to be like, don't expect them to be playing or anything like that, but they're definitely going to be involved. They're going to be representing the brand. They're probably going to be out there for during a point where they're not actually playing. So, um, yeah,
And I
and
think it's also a sign of like, hey, when you graduate, we do want you to play. You know
we
what I
want
mean?
you to get,
Like unless like Paige is going to be an Unrivaled next year. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like Obviously, Flage didn't come out, so she got signed a second time as a sponsor as an NIL athlete. But like, if she would have come out, Flage would have been an Unrivaled next year. Like that's sort of also sort of like getting them, getting into them early. All the things that you're talking about, their career and stuff like that, but also using their platform because we understand the platform of college basketball, but also just like building that relationship and being like, hey, when you come into the league and currently, unless they change it, you're making $75,000 a year. As soon as that season's over, we'll pay you
We'll
150,
pay you
whatever it's going to be,
220.
200, and that's some extra money in your pocket. You don't have to worry about being 21, 22, figuring out Russia, figuring out Europe, Spain,
Croatia, whatever.
Croatia, Japan, like all of these other places that a lot of them had to figure out. You don't have to be away from your family and doing all these things. We are going to pay you to play basketball and still continue to use your following and build. And because that's the other thing, it's like that I saw someone say, I think is very important, is it's like it's hard to get brand deals when you spend half of the year in another country. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like Angel Reese is Angel Reese, of course, but like how many more brand deals did she get by being here and being an Unrivaled and being able to go to these events and show up at these places and be on TV versus if she had to spend those couple of months in Spain, right? And so like
hmm
that stuff does matter. And even for me, who like I learned new names from Unrivaled. Like we were talking, I'm like, who is this? Like you know, like
I loved it. He was
it's
like
just
number
more
32 on
like
red. Who is that?
yeah, like it's just another way for fans to sort of get involved with players and stuff like that. So, you know, we don't need to sing Unrivaled praises. We do that all the time. We did that as soon as it started. But yeah, and I think I mean from 2 to 14 shows their expected growth as well, and
Oh
the
yeah,
fact that these players who are at the top of their sport respected enough and want to put their names on. Like Flage is huge at this point. She's not just putting her name
huge.
on nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
Juju is ginormous.
yeah, like Juju
Like,
is Juju is literally they're about to give her a shoe. Like she's not just putting her name on something. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like so.
I'll say
This
this
is
as
dope.
well. I think Unrivaled is just, and this I want to be very clear. This is my opinion, me, Denasia. And this is my own speculation because I know that there's a lot of conversation that we'll get into a little bit later about potential unrivaled, basically like there's a lot of speculation about Unrivaled in the WNBA and how they go together, basically. But so this is my opinion, but I do think Unrivaled is low key trying to show the WNBA that like you should be investing in the athletes while they're still in college because that is something that the WNBA has historically like not really been known to do is create continuity between the college brand and the WNBA brand of their newer athletes. I would argue that's why they blew up in the way that they did last year and not in years before that because they have some of the college greats in the WNBA, but they never create that continuity. And who's to say? Who knows why? I have always said I believe that the league is being led by people who want it to fail, but that's a whole other thing I can't get into. So I think Unrivaled is also showing like, hey, there's a way to create continuity with these athletes, these young athletes, and go ahead and get hot on their brands early, get associated with them early, so that way we can continue to grow the actual league itself. And that's a very, very big gap that the WNBA has. So there's also that. And then it's not to say that they have to do too much, but the fact that like just this last year or 2 years is when they started doing like games back at the colleges um, to promote, obviously like they had Asia play back at South Carolina for the preseason last year. And then they have 4 games that were back at colleges for preseason. Like, it's like, hello, y'all probably should have, y'all probably should have been doing that. So I don't know. I just think sometimes I'm rival to just be like, hey, we're better than you at this. Good job.
No,
But
yeah,
I
for
thought
sure. And I don't even think it's just talking about like the college thing. I think it's just talking about like supporting your players and
supporting who's coming
their
up.
brand and
Exactly.
just in general. Like they're like you could do a better job with Stewie. You could do a better job with Asia. You could do a better job with Paige. Like it's all of them. Like
Yeah.
we'll get into it again next year when Unrival's coming around because I'm sure that there'll be new changes. But like just the access they provided, the way that they use social media, the some of the very intentional things that they did, like they did it because they're like, you could, if you take full advantage of this is going, it's not just about play, it is going to help your brand. And the WNBA, and you could argue the WNBA is not the only league that is really bad at branding their players.
Yeah.
Cough cough, the NBA. But
Their dad, yeah.
but but yeah, so
Yeah,
cool.
it's good times. The one last thing I want to share, I just thought this was really interesting, is between that group of 14 individuals, they combined for 32 NCAA tournament appearances, 25 Sweet 16 appearances, 14 Elite 8 appearances, 10 Final Four appearances, and 4 national championships. Them ladies are some hoopers.
That's a group. That is a group.
Like, they didn't go get just random women's players. They went and got the literal best of the best. That's iconic. I love it. So can't wait to see how that turns out. I am anticipating the Unrivaled season so much just because it was so much lighter, so much more fun, so much more wholesome than the current WNBA season. But we'll talk about that later. Now to the Big Ten, Big 12.
The Big 12. It is
I have Big Ten in front of me. That's what's wrong with me. Big
is
12.
you know the Big Ten's the best, but that's not what we're here to talk about today. Today we're talking
All
about the Big
right.
12. So as a quick refresher, in case you were wondering, who is
Mm-hmm.
in the Big 12? Because this is a question that it feels like we have to ask all the time. This is only the second year of the newest, like of the most
Iteration.
recent format,
Yeah.
and the big conferences, the sort of the Power Four conferences, haven't had changes, but there are still changes. Like 2026 is going to be totally different. For I mean, the Pac-12 is coming back, and which means that's changing all of
I
the
can't do this.
G5 conferences and all of that sort of stuff. So
Oh,
at the Power Four level, there were no changes, but it's still a good reminder to know like what teams are in the conferences. So the Big 12 has Arizona State, Arizona, Cincinnati, Colorado, Houston, Kansas, Oklahoma State, Utah. I miss Baylor, Utah, TCU, Kansas State, Iowa State, BYU, WVU, and UCF.
yes.
I think
16
that's everyone.
teams in total.
16 teams.
Yes.
16 teams. So, as we did last year, we are going to focus these previews on sort of a couple of things, right? We're going to talk about some emerging storylines. We're going to look at top transfers. We're going to look at contenders, dark horse contenders, critical matchups, and newly, because it is important, and it's so much that's going on. Everyone wants to talk about how many teams are going to get into the playoff, and all of these sort of things. That is 12 and going potentially 16, and all the things that are happening with the playoff. How many playoff participants we think each conference is going to get. So
Period.
to start, as you should, with the emerging storylines, we have a couple up here, but the first one I want to talk about is Arizona State without Cam Scatterbo. Um, Arizona State
Yes.
is in a really interesting position where they're bringing back a lot of their production, but they're not bringing back the most important
Their
player.
golden goose. Yeah.
And so it becomes this thing where it's like when you watched Arizona State last year, they were good, but in almost all of their key moments, it was Cam.
Yeah.
Like the fact that they almost beat Texas was Cam,
Yeah.
literally
It
single
was,
handed.
he
He was
willed
doing
them.
everything. He was throwing the ball. He was
He
catching
threw
the
the ball.
ball.
He
He
ran
was
the ball.
rushing.
I
Like
think he
he,
played on defense at one point.
yeah. I mean, and honestly, if he would have played on defense on that 4th and 9, Texas probably wouldn't have scored a
They
touchdown.
probably would have.
So like, it's like,
Yeah.
yes, right. They are bringing back so many of their pieces, but what do they do without the sort of engine and the person who could who like answered the call when they needed it? They're bringing
Yeah.
back 35 of the 44 players on their 2D that was eligible to return in 2025. 35. In case you were wondering, you only play 11 players at a time. That means they're bringing back starters and backups who had key roles,
Both. Yeah.
including their quarterback and in a lot of other places. So you would think in a conference that we all sort of say is unpredictable, and we're going to stick with that because I do agree with that. You're saying okay, this conference is unpredictable, but you have Arizona State who won it last year, and you say they're bringing back 35 players, they're bringing back their quarterback, they're bringing back. Their wide receivers. They're bringing back their offensive line. They're bringing back almost their whole defense, and what they're losing, and or you could say maybe one player. Um, they brought in a transfer. They brought in a running back from Army who rushed for 1,100 yards, 6.2 yards per carry. So the question is sort of, are they just gonna do it again, right? Like, or is Cam a bigger loss than you can sort of quantify?
I'll tell you this. I think Arizona State went as Cam Scatterboo went. So, therefore, yes, they are returning a lot of production, but also to your point, like Cam's worst games were the games that they lost. Um, so, I mean, he had some bad games that they still ended up winning, but it's against Texas State and Wyoming. So, I'm gonna I'm gonna say I don't know. I don't know about Arizona State. I really, really don't. I know we spoke about before kind of giving like a more overarching like idea of who we thought was going to make it from like less of a studying standpoint and more like off of vibes and all of that. I think Arizona State has fight in them. I don't think they are going to completely suck, but this is who even is Arizona State without Cam?
That is a good question. The other thing
Like
that they're
who even
losing.
are they? Like who's the next guy? Like who's I don't know. So that's the biggest thing. It's kind of the same sentiment that I have towards Boise, and I know that's a different conference, but like
And
who is
Boise,
this?
of course, isn't bringing back as many people, but it is a very like salient point. Like, we don't expect Boise to be good this year because they don't have Aston Genty. Should
Yeah,
we be expecting Arizona State to be good without Cam Scatterwood?
I think that they're not going to make like a drastic fall, but I don't think they're like oh my gosh, like they're the ones, they're going to do it again. Because also, let's be clear, nobody was even thinking about Arizona State last year.
Nope.
Nobody was even thinking about Arizona State. I don't even think we talked about Arizona State for our last year's Big 10, Big 12, Jesus, preview. So that's also an indicator of like, okay, y'all had that one star that's really cool. Love that for y'all. But like, who are y'all really? I think this is the year that we're actually going to figure that out because nobody was checking for y'all last year. And the only reason why we're checking for y'all this year is because of how well y'all did last year, but you did it off the back of somebody who's not there no more. So
And well, I will say slightly. That is definitely true on offense, but they did have a good defense. Like,
yeah,
on
yeah,
defense, they were 20th overall, 15th in rushing, 25th in passing, a
yeah.
top one third defense, and they're bringing back a lot of those players. So their defense did keep them in a lot of games, although it also did then lose in the Texas game. But I think their hope is going to have to be that. And the thing is also, we're not really, we're not necessarily talking about where they fit nationally, but it's can they do it again in the Big 12? And I think that their hope has to be that they can't replace Cam, but maybe the quarterback, Sam Levitt, takes another jump
There can be some
and
good
then
production.
he
Yeah,
becomes that, right? Like,
yeah,
when you have a young quarterback, you need a star running back or a star wide receiver. When your quarterback is the star, then he's the one that's the engine. And so I guess the hope
yeah.
for them would be that in his second year as a starter, after coming onto the scene and having a really good year, that Sam Levitt is sort of ready to fill that
To
gap
be
in,
that
of
guy.
course, a different way.
I'll say schedule wise, I don't see them like having a crazy dip. Like I still see a 9-3 situation for them, maybe a 10-2 in some of the closer games. Like I don't like I want to be clear. I think they have enough talent to win games, but also their schedule is favorable. So I think as far as like top teams in the Big Ten, they're only playing what two of them. It looks like maybe three.
Yeah, they're set to play Baylor and Texas Tech.
Baylor, Texas Tech, TCU is the top team depending on who you ask. Utah, depending on who you ask. So but I don't think based on the schedule, I don't think they're going to have a hard time getting wins.
Yeah, for sure. Um, Next question. Next emerging
The next
storyline is
emerging
Colorado.
storyline, my favorite one.
Colorado what do they look like without Shador and Travis? This is one thing that I do want to say. I think that, and credit's the wrong word, but I do think that we need to acknowledge that as a general consensus, people were wrong about Dion in that he
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to coach college football and that he was going to leave as soon as his sons were there.
Mm-hmm.
And his sons, I'm also including Travis Hunter. That was basically one of his sons. He said that. Travis said that. They one big happy family vacation
Yeah,
together,
his
all that
babies,
sort of
his
stuff.
kids. Yeah, yeah.
Um,
It's at the wedding, whatever. Yeah.
so yeah, so it's just like, what does he want to do when Shador is not there, when Travis is not there, when Shiloh's not there? And he stayed. He signed a 5-year contract, and he is all set on being the coach. Of course, he hit the transfer portal. He stole a borderline 5-star quarterback from USC. He went and got one of the better quarterbacks in the transfer portal. He's doing these
Mm-hmm.
things where
Yeah.
it's very much like year 3 now. We don't know what year 3 looks like, but as far as the Dion angle, we can we no longer have to question if he is committed to the job. So then the question becomes, which is our storyline, because it is Dion, and there's still going to be eyes, and there's still going to be
Yeah, of
maybe less
course.
hype, of course, but there's still going to be eyes and things like that. And they put themselves in a position that a lot of teams put themselves in, where it's like, okay, you did something, like, so what happens next? What do they look like without Shador and without Travis? And we keep saying Shador and Travis, but they did lose so much more than that. Like
Yeah.
um, they lost. What is that wide receiver's name?
Um,
There was another really good wide receiver that they had. Uh,
um,
I can't think of it right now, but there's like they
yeah.
had a wide receiver who would have been their best wide receiver if Travis Hunter also didn't play. Like, he was legitimately Lejonte Western or something like that. He was legitimately a good wide receiver. So
Yeah.
they lost other people on defense and various things like that. But of course, Shador and Travis are the big names. So it just is what it is.
I think
What do they
the
look
thing,
like?
the thing about Colorado, I think this is going to be like the first, and I said this already, this first year that you're really going to see like Dion's coaching chops, like what he's really going to be able to do. Because they also, I mean, there was also the attitude that he wasn't going to be all that successful last year as well. And he still managed to pull out a successful season,
9 wins.
given where they were at prior, right? I mean, in 2023, they only won 4 games. Last year, they won one, two, three, four, five. What is that? Seven,
They
eight,
won 9.
nine. But at the end of the day, 3-9 against powerful opponents. So the real question is, how is Colorado going to be able to stack up against the Power Four? I think that's the bigger question. But he hit the transfer portal, like you said. They have some really, really great recruits. They've got a couple of coaching changes. I think the biggest thing also is that the offense will inevitably change. Because you had a once in a lifetime wide receiver. And so the offense was very much air raid. It was very much put the ball in the air and get it to the playmakers. That is not obviously going to be their offense this year. So that's going to be really interesting, is to see how they adjust. And obviously, the offensive line was such a liability last year. Hopefully, that gets cleaned up a little bit, because they have a different quarterback, and they obviously will have a different, I think they'll have a different runner this year as well. So their offense is inevitably going to change. And I think that'll be interesting to watch them workshop through their first couple weeks. Um, Again, a favorable schedule, in my opinion, ish
Well,
for the team.
honestly, I think the hard thing with the favorable schedule thing is I don't think anyone in the Big 12 has a favorable schedule, because they can all just beat each other, which is what
They can
happened
all beat
last
each
year.
other. Yes, that is very true. But by favorable schedule, I mean more so like the amount of quote unquote projected top teams they have to play is more so what I'm getting at. But yes, every game is going to be competitive, because the Big 12. I mean, we were waiting
As
until
far
the
as
last hour of the last day to figure out who was going to be in the Big 12 championship.
Yeah,
Like,
and as far as the way, like, if we're looking at the teams that, even just the teams that we're considering contenders, they played 2 of them.
two of
And
them,
one of
yeah,
the teams that we're considering contender is not, at least that I'm considering contender, is not a consensus contender for other people. So if we're looking at just like what people think are going to be the top 3 teams, they only play one. They play Arizona State.
yeah. Starting the season playing Georgia Tech is, hate that for them. But
which is a funny thing to say, where it's just like to speak of how college football changes and the good of Dion and just the good of everything. The fact that like we're interested in a Colorado Georgia Tech game. Like 5 years ago, nobody would care about
Nobody's
that.
gonna care. Like nobody
Like, but
gives.
like this year, that is a good game. Like these are two teams that are sort of like fighting to find
Their
an
identities.
identity and
Yeah,
making back to back bowl games. Like that's the goal. I think Georgia Tech maybe did it. Colorado, the hope is to make back to back bowl games this year because obviously they did last year, and
yeah.
so on and so forth. But to your point, yeah, the offense is going to be very different, largely because they have a quarterback now who can run the ball. Um,
I
like,
hate you.
I mean,
It's the way you say things. It's just the
Shador
way you say things.
Couldn't run to save his life. Like,
Hopefully, well, he gonna have to learn how to do it in the NFL. So, well,
he's not. If you can't run in college, you're not going to start running in
well,
the NFL.
well. I was about to say the way that they protect quarterbacks at such an intensely ridiculous level in the NFL is also like he probably will never even have to add that to his game. That's why I was like, actually, hold on.
He can't add it to his game. He just doesn't have it.
There is no development.
Well, I mean, it's not even about development. He just doesn't have like he's not that kind of athlete. Like he has
Yeah,
a lot of skills in a lot of areas. Rushing is not one of them, and you are not going to do that when everybody on the defensive line is 300 pounds and runs a 4.6. Like
I'm.
if you couldn't do it in college, where some of them people run a 5.2 and are never going to play in the league, you're not doing it in the league where Ndamukong Suh is
Oh
320
God.
pounds and runs a 4.7. Like you're not, he's not doing that. So,
I
but
am
their
just.
current
I'm holding out hope. Anybody can develop. That's all I'm saying.
But
I'm
you
holding
can't
out hope.
develop running skills.
No, obviously
Like you
not. But
can't
I'm saying
develop speed. I'm not like,
no,
but
you can't
I'm
develop speed, but you
yeah,
might be able to develop, more elusiveness. That doesn't necessarily mean he's going to run for 20 yards, but like he might be able to develop a little bit more of that. But anyways, it doesn't matter.
he better hope so.
Um, we'll get into that.
Their quarterback, their new expected quarterback, Caden Salters, he had a great year in 2023. Not as good last year, but in 2023 he put up 2,800 passing yards, a
Oh,
thousand rushing yards, and 44 total touchdowns.
oh,
So
period.
like that is a another sort of beast, and he needs it because one of Shador's best qualities is that he was tough, and we found out how tough he was because he got beat up playing behind that offensive line. Caden
Yeah,
Salters is going to run a little bit more, and he's probably going to have to because again, we don't know what the offensive line looks like. So um,
yeah. And they
that's a
have
question.
no receivers. I mean, not that they have no receivers, but nobody is coming back.
Yeah,
So
literally, they did lose all of their receivers.
they
So
lost the whole one. So
um,
that'll be
their receivers
interesting.
are transfers.
Pretty much, yeah. That'll be interesting all around. But I think the coolest thing about this, and I think the coolest thing about this is the way that Colorado's brand has been able to be elevated. I think they said their applications are up 20% just because of Dion being there and coaching and elevating their profile and their brand and all of that. And of course, like with the whole like concept of him coming from whatever school he was at before. Why can't I think Jackson State? Um, and bringing a lot of those guys with him, and of course, a lot of people are going to want to play for Colorado because they want to play for Dion. Um, I just love it because Colorado just wasn't the type of it wasn't a school that you associated really with football in that same like way. So I love it. I think it's cool.
Yeah, for sure. Um, Next and last question. All
Yes,
transferred Texas Tech.
this is
Texas Tech.
crazy.
This is this is a really interesting thing, and for just all of college football in general. But this is really sort of interesting for me for one thing, and my one of my various brands that I sort of stick behind is I am far from anti transfer portal, but I do not think you can build a real winner in the transfer portal. So I think the
Yes,
question with
USF
Texas,
did it.
who?
USF, University of South Florida. Did I just make that up? FSU, Florida State, FSU. Sorry,
Yeah, and then look what happened the next year.
I know, but I'm just saying they did do it.
So, and they had less transfers, to be clear.
They
Like
did.
Florida State, their best players were transfers, but they had a team around them.
Oh
Like
yes,
Texas Tech, just about
They're building a team
everybody
off
who's
transfers.
playing, like just about everyone who's playing is a transfer. And then on top of that, they're having two new coordinators. So like
Yeah,
everybody's new, everything is new. And
yeah,
I just have this sort of thing where it's just like I know, like, if you're not really into sports, you really don't pay attention and things like that. It can be easy to like shoo away things like culture and leadership and like that sort of stuff. But that
continuity.
stuff really does matter, even in the
Yeah,
pros, but especially in college with
yeah,
younger kids, right? And you need that sort of accountability. You need that leadership. You need the person who is getting the extra reps and stopping them from blacking out, and drinking, and like all like coaches can only do so much, right?
yeah,
And when you have transfers, everyone coming in, it's really hard. The other thing with the transfer thing for me is everyone, when you're bringing in these transfers, you're promising them two things. You're promising them money and you're promising them that they're going to start. There are obviously some players who have a team first mentality. And so if things go different for them, maybe they're okay with that. But a lot of time, and like you started to hear like little like rumblings with Oregon last year about some of their transfer players being unhappy because they weren't getting exactly what they promised, this, that, and the third. And so I think that it's going to be an interesting case of just what does a team look like when almost everyone is a transfer, right?
yeah.
And I think there's two ways to look at this, right? One, the first way to look at it is does it work for them? And that sort of like the Colorado thing, they go from 3 wins to 8 wins or 3 wins to 9 wins. And it's like, okay, that was very successful for you. You had a good year. You should be happy. Versus what I think Texas Tech's thing is, we want to build a team that can compete for a
For a
national
championship.
championship.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah, because they want to
Texas,
be back in their Patrick Mahomes era. Like they want to be back in that space where they were a successful, an overwhelmingly successful football program, and they've invested a lot in it. I mean, first of all, Texas Tech in general
they
is just
were
investing
only
investing a
so
lot.
successful with Patrick Mahomes, by the way.
Yes, but
But
you know what I'm getting at. Patrick Mahomes is their guy. Is what I'm getting at. But Texas Tech is very interesting because clearly Texas Tech has a priority. Their boosters have a priority, and that is to invest in their sports. You just saw that on the women's softball side of things. Forgive me that her name was left my spirit. As y'all know, I'm bad with names, but the first $1 million deal in softball, and so you're over here on this side of things, and they're doing the $200 million.
Najee Kennedy, I believe.
There we go. They're doing a $200 million renovation to their stadium. They're clearly investing in these transfers because they wouldn't have this many coming if they weren't paying them. So that's going to be very, very interesting. It's the same thing that we talked about, kind of. It's similar to what we talked about with the Brooklyn Nets and why we thought the Brooklyn Nets were not going to be successful. It's because sometimes too much of a good thing is not a good thing. So many of these transfers, I want to look. They have 13 four-star transfers for one school. The entire conference has gotten 12 combined, and they have brought 13 four-stars. And I have always been somebody who's paid attention to the concept of like having too many stars, right? If you have 13 4 stars, you only play 11 people at once, okay? You have 13 4 stars, which means you have 13 guys who all were the best players wherever they were at. They are going to be expecting to be starters. They're going to be expecting to be built around. They're going to be expecting all those things. Somebody is not about to get that. Somebody is not about to get that. Plus, they also have to contend with the guys who have been there, the guys who have tenure, because a lot of times, obviously, the guys who have tenure are going to get a little bit of a preference in playing time, depending on where, what position they play and things like that. So they're also contending with the guys who are already there. I hate this. And I want to be clear, I don't hate it because of the transfer portal element of things. It's the same reason, you're saying. I think that using the transfer portal to help build a team is a great method of building. I just don't think that you need that many. I don't think you need that many. Because yes, on paper, you're gonna have all of these 4 star transfers, you're gonna have all of these great guys, you're gonna have all of this, talent in the room. But that doesn't mean that they're all gonna mesh. It doesn't mean that they're all gonna be able to play together. And to your point, where's the culture? And who's the culture drivers? Because yeah, you can have a bunch of guys who are really, really great or they're 4 stars, but they may be lazy. There are some guys who are 4 star recruits and they don't do nothing. They're just 4 stars. You know what I mean? Because they're just
Mhm.
good. They eat like shit. They don't take care of themselves. They don't have discipline. They don't have all these things. That's not to shade anybody, but I'm just saying that there are some 4 stars, 5 star recruits that are just that because they're naturally athletic. It has nothing to do with their work ethic or their discipline level. Who's going to hold them responsible if the whole room is transfers? Like, who's going to hold them
And
responsible if the whole team, not the whole team, but
I mean,
theoretically the whole team,
effectively, the whole team is transfers.
like
Yes.
who's the culture drivers, who's the culture setters, who's going to be the leaders, who's going to be, because as transfers too, you're not going to want to, some of them, but I know for me, I'm not coming into a team and immediately thinking I'm running shit, right? You look and you see what the system is and who's the thought leader and who's the culture leader on the team. Who is that? Who's that going to be? Because it's not going to be a transfer just coming in and saying, okay, this is what we're going to do. They don't know the culture. They haven't been there. So yeah, I feel like Tech is going to have a big issue with figuring out how all of these people are going to mesh. And you can only hope that they figure it out like soon enough to have a successful season.
Yeah, and the other thing with this, and this is I think is the hardest one to do, and Colorado is a big example of this. They essentially portaled their whole offensive line.
Yeah,
From my knowledge, there has not been one portaled offensive line that's been successful
yeah.
because offensive line is so much about continually and meshing and
You have to be on one
trust
court.
and playing on a string and things like that. And
Yeah,
it typically takes 2 years. Like
yeah.
I hate to give credit to cheaters, but the school that did the offensive line transfer thing the best was Michigan, but it was always because they would bring in one or two
One.
guys because they
Yeah,
had so much depth. They had guys that played. It was like, we got 4 starters, we need a center. You go out and get the best center in the country, you can make that work. We have 3 guys. We need a guard and a tackle. You go out and get some of the best. You can make that work. But you have the coach. You have the room. You have guys who got a bunch of snaps and all of this sort of thing. So you're supplementing. I wonder, like, there's, people are very high on their quarterback. He had a pretty good year last year, but
yeah.
it's going to be an entirely different um, offensive line. Like, I mean,
Team, line, everything. Yeah.
everything. So
Listeners, so
I
yeah,
just I don't fully buy the hype of Texas Tech because I understand that the talent may be there, but I feel like in more cases than not, the transfer thing, the especially the all transfer thing, doesn't work. And all of the teams that sort of start that way in general, they end up moving sort of away from it. And so
yes. The only
it's
team that has been successful with a bunch of transfers is TCU women's basketball. That is the only place I've seen it, where the entire team, except for the girl who be beating people, was transfers. That's the
yeah.
only place. That's the only place that I have seen it where they have managed to quite literally turn the program around off the backs of everybody being transferred. But that's also a team that has a roster of 15. This is a roster of I don't know how many in college men's basketball anymore because all the stuff in NIL. What is it? 85 now? 115. What is it?
It's 105.
105. So
Yeah.
obviously, small case study. But I mean, here's the thing. I'll put it like this though too, because I'm always real good at seeing both sides. If Texas Tech actually has success off of this, I can't wait to watch the documentary about it because
Yeah.
this is historic. What they're doing is historic. Bringing in this many transfers at one time, if that immediately translates to success, they have completely changed the landscape of how you can build a football team.
Yeah, so the other thing with that though is you have to talk about what is success.
Yeah,
And so Texas Tech, while maybe not like a media darling sort of situation,
yeah,
they've been to 4 straight bowl games.
yeah,
They won in 2021, they won 7 games. 2022, they won 8 games. 23, they won seven. 24, they won eight. So this isn't even like the Colorado thing where like you go from three to
they're
nine,
coming from
everyone
trash.
loves you.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
already at 7, 8.
yeah,
You need to win 10. Like this isn't like
yeah,
you can't bring in all these transfers and win one extra game. Like
yeah.
nobody's gonna be happy about 9-3. Especially if that 9-3 doesn't include a spot in the Big 12 championship game. And
That's
so
what I'm
that's
getting
the
at.
other thing. Like, it's different for a same conference. It's different for Colorado, right? It's different for, say, a Nebraska who hasn't made a bowl game in a million years.
10
You bring
years or
in
whatever.
transfers, you
Yeah,
bring in a new coach. Everyone's happy with 6-6 because you
yeah.
haven't won 6 games in
In
10
10,
years,
10
right?
years.
So,
Literally
so
10
like,
years.
but you're at 8. You won 8. You've been to 4 straight bowl games. This is to get you over
Oh
the
no, this is
top.
championship or bust. It's championship or bust. Then that's what I'm saying. If they actually make it to the Big 12 championship, they actually put up a good performance in it, because a lot of people are saying that Big 12 championship could potentially be ASU and Texas Tech. If they make it there and they get that playoff spot, and honestly, even if they get bounced out of the first round, if they get that playoff spot, they
It's going to
win
be
the
a
championship. I, I would not be shocked the absolute chaos that would ensue in the transfer portal after that, because you proved that it's possible. Now, granted, the next year is always what matters too, right? But still, if you come in and you come in hot, you get this many transfers, and y'all have immediate success, that changes the landscape for a lot of people as far as how the transfer portal can be utilized.
yeah. I disagree with that, but only because I
Because you've
just
only
don't
seen
think.
one.
No, I disagree with it because we've seen it. Like this isn't the first team that's like you
Just
mentioned.
tried
Like
it. Oh yeah, of course, yeah,
yeah, and we've seen that it just doesn't maintain. So
yeah.
like I
It'll be
do
interesting.
agree that people are going to try it, but I think it's like I mean a lot of teams are already trying it. Texas Tech
Yeah,
is just has become the poster of it because
they're
their
gluttonous and
individual
greedy.
billionaire is very like public about it. So
Yeah,
and again you could argue that they're being the most successful because again the what was it 13 4-star transfers like they are bringing in a really a really good number.
yeah,
But the other thing the other thing that you sort of have to say with this too is just like they're bringing in that number because they have to.
yeah.
And yes, they're 4-star transfers, but like as soon as you take this conversation out of the Big 12, how do they compare to
What are we
Alabama, to
talking
Ohio
about?
State, to
Yeah,
Oregon, to Penn State,
yeah,
to Texas, to like
yeah,
you are still doing this to compete in your conference. Like,
yeah.
let's be clear, this is not making them a national championship contender.
No,
Now, if it works, maybe they have more buy-in, maybe they keep doing it, maybe eventually it goes somewhere. But until proven otherwise, and the
this is
first
not a
team
one
that's
two
going to
magnitude.
prove this, the first team that's going to prove this is Oregon. Until proven otherwise, an all transfer team, a team that is not building through high school recruiting, is not going to win a national championship, in my opinion. And even Oregon is like shifting a little bit. They are still doing transfers, but like when you
Not
look
at
at
the same
Oregon's
level.
roster, a lot of the players are going to be like people that they did in high school. And I've had this conversation with Oregon where I'm like, hey, this transfer quarterback thing, like, I don't know. Because all it takes is you not to hit. And then you have no depth. Like, so
I
we'll
agree.
see. But
They're
yeah,
the
so
biggest wild card in the Big 12, though, at this
and
point.
the biggest wild card in the biggest wild card conference. Like it's crazy. It's gonna
Isn't
be
that so good?
entertaining. Um,
This is gonna be
so
so much fun to watch. The Big 12, I'm telling you, man, just tap in, because when you're talking about like competitiveness level, I really do think that these, because of all of the teams' different situations, whether they're in rebuilds versus coming off of having stars versus coaching changes, coordinator changes, all this. There's so much mercurialness in this particular league that honestly, it really is any given Saturday with the Big 12. Like
yes,
any given Saturday, and I love it. I love it. I'm not the biggest fan of most of these brands, but except for Colorado, obviously. But I love it.
yeah. Um, top transfers. Just a couple of names. We'll see. For me, I think the I think
Yeah,
the
thank
two
you.
most, and I really hate doing this because I'm very much not like a super heavy quarterback person, and I hate when everyone's like the most impactful players at quarterback. Like I get it,
Like
yes, it's
okay,
true, but like there are other things to talk about. So I hate that the first two names of mine are going to be quarterbacks, but it is true for a very specific reason. The first one is Caden Salters, Colorado. I know we don't like to say this, but Caden Salter may be a better quarterback than Shador Sanders. So like,
probably
and
honestly.
Shador wasn't bad. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I never thought he was a first round talent. I also didn't think he was a fourth round talent. Right? There are rounds in between there. But
Second round
Caden,
at least. Yeah.
especially like, and I do think that Shador's probably has more NFL potential. But when we're talking about college, having a guy who can throw for 2,800 yards and run for 1,000 and give you 44 touchdowns alone, right? And you could argue that he may have better players at Colorado than he had at Liberty, right?
Yeah,
That is interesting, right?
that's
And like
something to say. Yeah, no, you're right.
that's like like
But also, it's a brilliant move. You lose Shador, you go and you get a fucking stud.
yeah,
Like, that's what you do.
two
You
plus
don't,
two is four.
yeah, you don't hope that this backup is gonna, no, you go get you a fucking stud.
Yeah. And then the other guy is Devin Dampier from New Mexico, who is similar. He's now at Utah.
Mm-hmm.
Utah, in my opinion, when this conference happened, I said the Big 12 is not going to have one team that like dominates, but if they do, it is going to be
Gonna be
Utah.
Utah.
And then
Mm-hmm.
Utah never got that chance because of injuries. They just got injured
Yeah.
and injured and injured and injured. Just so like
Somebody was always
the
in a
level,
hoodie on the
yes, the
sidelines.
level of injury that they dealt with is crazy. And so this year, they finally have a new quarterback. They're bringing in a new offensive coordinator. They still have that good defense. And so it's like, we're not really talking about Utah, but if Dampier is that guy, and you pair it with the fact that, like, Utah has, we talk about offensive line, I'm reading these things and listening to these podcasts. Utah, I believe, has two first round picks on their offensive line. So they're
Oh,
going to have
dude.
a great, they always have a great offensive line. So you're going to give this good quarterback a fucking
A
brick
good
wall to stand behind and then a good defense. And it's like, hey, now,
Utah might be back.
you
Utah
know,
might just be back.
but
Um,
like I'm talking about the Utah that was beating up on USC, that
no,
was winning
yeah.
the
Vintage
Pac-12.
you, yeah.
Like you know what I'm saying? Like you're bringing that team into the Big 12. When they came into the Big 12, I was like, damn, the Big 12 better watch out. And
They
then the
need to be scared.
injuries happened. This is the watch out year. Like this might be the watch out year. This might be you see the
Don't
Utah
sleep.
that was giving Caleb Williams hell. Like you see the Utah that was smacking up Oregon. Like you might see that Utah, and if you see that one, the Big 12 just better hope and pray.
Everybody needs to be scared. I'll say this: Devin Dampier is like the perfect name for somebody who like shouldn't be in sports. Like it's just a perfect name. Like it's, I love it. Anyways, continue with our number. Our, I'm sorry, top transfers. I don't know why I
Yeah.
can't talk.
So those two, and then the last one
Oh,
that
okay.
I have two more. The next one I have is Chase Sowell, wide receiver, Iowa State. Iowa State is not super being talked about in some of these conversations, and it's because they lost their two best wide receivers and some other
Yeah.
things. But like they won 10 games last year, they technically should be in this conversation. For them to get back into this conversation, they need someone for their quarterback to throw to. So if Chase can like, I mean, Iowa had the set like it was Ohio State and Iowa State. Like I know
Yeah.
that sounds crazy, but like Ohio State had two wide receivers with over 1,000 yards. Only one other program did that. It was
Iowa
Iowa
State.
State. It wasn't Oregon. It wasn't Bama. It wasn't Texas. It wasn't Georgia.
Which
It
is crazy
wasn't
that what's his face didn't get a
USC.
thousand
It
yards.
wasn't. It was
What's his name?
I who?
Ryan Williams. Is that
No,
the
no, no.
name of
It's
him?
two wide receivers with 1,000 yards.
Oh. Gotcha, gotcha,
Yeah,
gotcha,
Ryan.
gotcha, gotcha.
Actually, Ryan
I'm
Williams. I
caught
don't
up.
think he got. I don't think he got 1,000 yards either. He was really close. He was like nine something. He got.
Damn, that's
He.
crazy.
Yeah. He like fell off a little bit. He hit a rookie slump. Um.
Right.
So yeah. And then the last one, because just near and dear to my heart, I have to pick a linebacker. I have to pick a defensive guy. Trey Lathan, West Virginia linebacker. He's going to Kansas. Um,
Kansas is on my watch list. Let me tell
yeah,
you.
yeah,
Kansas
yeah.
is on my watch list. I know we didn't talk about them because we were just talking about storylines. Kansas, dude, because their record really doesn't show how many games they were really just in. They were
Yes.
in so many of those games. Their biggest issue was finishing. Their biggest issue was being understanding what it takes to win under pressure. The group, for the most part, from what I understand, is pretty consistent. I know they lost. What is his name? They were chanting his name in the last game. Is it Devin Miles? Am I
No,
making
no,
that
no.
up?
It's Devin Neal,
Devin Neal.
who is a
Devin Neal.
stud
Oh
boy.
my God.
Talk about
Literally,
running back.
what the heck? Like,
talk
we
about.
did not talk about Devin Neal
Hey
enough last season. We
boy.
really, really didn't. But the thing I'm
Um.
getting at with Kansas is Kansas, they're just a couple pieces away. They really,
Yeah.
really are. So shout out to them. They also got did they get another linebacker? He has an interesting name.
Yeah. They did. They did. I do not know him though, so
Ah,
he could not be on the list because I didn't just want to say things. I had to talk about
screaming. Well, he
someone that I
came from
knew.
South Carolina,
Yeah,
so
I had to talk about someone that I
we'll
knew.
see.
Um,
We'll see.
and
His name
yeah,
is Bengali Camara, which I love that last name.
yeah.
Um, Anyways, child, moving swiftly along from the transfers. So The contenders for the Big Ten. I'm gonna keep saying Big
Yep,
Ten, and then
you
when we have
are.
the Big Ten episode, I'm gonna keep saying Big 12. They
Don't
should be named
disrespect.
different. Why they both got to be big? I don't understand.
And only one is the biggest, the
The
largest.
largest, correct. So
Listen, which is hilarious because the Big 12 has all the Texas schools, and that's definitely a reference from a Texas rapper. But I'm
that should be
absolutely talking about the Big 10.
no. We know,
Look, you know what I'm
we
saying?
knew, we were aware. Okay,
That wasn't it wasn't under, like, you weren't confused at all, like you.
no, I was not confused. You're an Ohio State fan, anyway, child. So the contenders for the Big 12. Who do we think is going to win the Big 12? We have selected, and by we I mean Jordan has selected four schools because I agreed. Like when I saw who you
Yeah.
put, I was like, yes, absolutely. So the four schools that we think are going to be in the conversation for contending for the Big 12 are as follows: Arizona State, obviously, Baylor, Texas Tech, and Utah. Baylor, we didn't get a chance to really talk too much about. I'm not going to say nothing about Baylor because I have beef with Baylor, but if you feel like talking about Baylor, please go ahead.
Yeah, I guess we
My beef with
should
Baylor
because
is
we did
similar to
talk.
my beef with Michigan.
Yeah, like I guess we should because we talked about everyone else, right? Baylor basically Baylor started the year looking
They play
like
football.
trash, and
Yep.
then in the middle of the
And
year
finish in
they
state trash.
became really good.
Crazy.
They have, and it's funny how this works. Like the arguably the three best quarterbacks in the conference are on the three contenders. It's Arizona
Well,
State,
then,
Baylor, and
well,
Texas
there you
Tech.
go.
Who knew? Um,
So there you go.
so first of all, like they ended the year winning
6 games in a
six
row.
straight.
Yep.
They were one of the team. They were one of the teams. Also, like Kansas or Kansas State, one of the Kansas teams that like changed the sort of picture in the Big 12 last year because of who they were beating and sort of when and
Kansas. It
stuff
was
like
Kansas.
that. And they are bringing everyone back, right?
Yeah.
Their offense last year, led by Jake Spavital, um, basically added 2 touchdowns per game. They went from 23 points per game to 35. They returned 9 starters, including the quarterback Sawyer Robinson. Robinson did not start all year, right? And he ended up throwing for 3,000 yards and 28 touchdowns. And our last episode, we talked about, and I want to be clear, I do not think he's winning the Heisman. But we talked about, is there going to be any quarterback that's going to
Yeah.
throw for 4,000 yards?
Yeah.
He's someone that's going to be close. Like, Heisman
Yeah.
or not, although if Baylor wins championship, he's probably going to be in contention. He's like, again, he didn't start the whole year. He threw for 3,000 yards and 28 touchdowns. If you give him them couple
The whole
extra
year.
games, where does that end up? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like
Yeah.
3,500, right? 33 touchdowns. So they're going to have an offense that's hard to stop. Dave Aranda is a defensive coach. They're bringing back just about everyone, literally. They had a backfield duo who featured a 1,000-yard rusher and a 600-yard rusher. Both of them come back. One of them being Bryson Washington, who was freshman All-American. He rushed for 1,000 yards and had 6 100-yard games. So it's
Long
not
period.
just the quarterback. Like
They got a
they were
squad. They
just
have
good
a
on
good
offense.
squad.
They were just good on offense. All right, they were just
Yeah.
good on
Yeah.
offense. End of the day, they were good on offense. They did lose a couple of people on defense, but they
Do they
brought in
have a
some
defensive
transfers.
coordinator?
Huh?
Do they have a defensive coordinator? Because wasn't the
Yeah,
head coach
he was. Who did they hire? Who did they hire?
I'm sorry,
Um,
I can read it myself, but I'm just like,
I don't
I know
remember who
I
they
read it
hired.
that
They did. You are correct in that.
at
See, you
home.
was paying attention last year. You college football got you locked in. Dave Aranda basically took over defensive play calling last year because his coordinator was ass. I don't remember who they hired, but he should not be doing that this year. Um,
His coordinator was ass as Cindy was.
yeah,
I'll say this. We played them this year. By we, I mean SMU. Um, it's been a minute since we played Baylor. I actually can't tell you the last. I think I was in undergrad the last time we played Baylor at Baylor. I think we played Baylor at Baylor. That was the last time that I recall, and that had to at least be my freshman year because I wasn't working for the team yet.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, that's all I care about.
yeah. And
And we played
so,
them early. They're the second game of the year for us.
yep. And so yeah, so it's just like when you have that offense scores points, right? Offense it
Yes, it
helps.
does.
They last year they ended 19th in scoring offense, 21st in points per play, 20th in total offense, 24th in yards per play. They were a top 25 offense in almost everything. Um, and as long as their defense gets better, because they weren't very good again, of course, which is why they the head coach was calling the defensive plays, this is a team that's going to contend. So I think that
Yeah,
Arizona State, Baylor, Texas Tech, and Utah are the named. And again, Utah is not a consensus. Excuse me, but I'm putting that in there because I
I
believe in
agree.
them. So those are the sort of four that I think
I think Baylor and
we should be
Texas Tech
looking at.
are a very interesting case study because I don't think it's going to be both of them. It's going to be one of them, and the difference maker is going to be continuity versus transfer portal
That's
wisdom. That's going to
podcasting.
be the
You
main.
see that? That's that's podcasting right there. We talking continuity versus Texas transfers, transfer tech.
Transfer Tech. We're going to call it Texas Tech Transfer Tech
There
all
we
year,
go,
but
transfer tech.
Baylor and Texas Tech, who gets the spot? It is going to be the determining factor will be whether it was the continuity
Yeah.
versus how long it takes for those transfers to actually mesh. And then when it comes to ASU and Utah, it's going to be who's going to bounce back, who's going to bounce back the best, right? ASU is going to have to bounce back from not having Cam. Utah's going to have to bounce back from the fact that their quarterback will actually hopefully be able to play the entire season.
Yeah, well, yeah, because
And the
their
rest of the
lives,
team.
yeah, you know,
And the
not
rest of the team. If
knock on
everybody
wood,
could just play, that would be fabulous for Utah.
that hasn't happened in 2 years.
No, literally. So if
Like it's,
everybody at Utah could just not be on crutches or have anything taped up or be on the sideline in hoodies, I think we're gonna get
you know
somewhere.
what? I'm banning hoodies for Utah. No more hoodies. No more hoodies. I
No
don't want
more
to sniff.
hoodies.
I don't want to sniff a hoodie. They were so injured. Hold on, let me
Oh my
find
god, it
this
was
stat.
bad. It was so bad.
Let
It
me
was so
find
they were on like
this.
their third string. It was bad.
Yeah, they were so injured that they snapped a 10-year streak.
10 years,
10 years.
bro.
They've had a winning season every season for 10 years, and they were so injured that Kyle Whittingham, who is one of the best coaches of all time,
Said it
couldn't
was
do it. Couldn't do
the
it.
most difficult year in his career.
They started out 4-0, by the way,
Yeah.
and
And
then
then
the
they
injuries
lost the
happened,
quarterback.
and they lost
Yeah.
7 straight.
Yeah.
Like literally, like
So
they were
Utah is
good, and then they fell apart and
yeah.
lost basically every game, every remaining
Yeah,
game.
it's going to
So
be the it's going to be the battle of the bounce back and then the battle of continuity. And
yeah,
those either neither Baylor nor Texas Tech are in it, and it's ASU and Utah. I'm just going to give my opinions for real, or it's one of the two Texas schools and probably ASU. Because like Utah, I don't know. Because again, like that's just something you can't predict. Because if they have the same, I would hope they don't have the same situation. But
yes, yeah.
we're just gonna have to. But like at the end of the day, like we're just gonna have to see. Like we're just gonna have to see how it all turns out. I think the next topic we have are the dark horses of the conference.
Yeah. Well,
Um.
before we do that, though,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I want to add one quick emerging storyline that I'm doing
Now
as
we're going all the way back to
as
the
we're
top
as
of
we're
the
as we're
agenda.
sort of looking through this. I don't know how many of these quarterbacks are going to be NFL talent, so that does matter in the end goal, winning a national championship. But they have so many like good college quarterbacks, like Devin. Like we talked about Caden Salters, and so I want to read Devin Dampier's stats. Devin Dampier, quarterback at Utah now, he racked up 3,900 yards, including 1,184 rushing and 31 total touchdowns. So like we got some guys like these
Oh yeah.
defenses like again. Who's going to go pro? That doesn't matter. This is a college podcast. Baylor got a quarterback. ASU has a quarterback. Texas Tech has a quarterback. Utah has a quarterback. Colorado has a quarterback. And so it's like, we may get old Big 12. Like, do we talk about Patrick Mahomes? We may get that Big 12.
We may get the Big
We
12
may,
back for real,
we
for
may
real.
get Texas Tech versus Oklahoma 55-51. Like that,
What a time
listen,
to be alive.
first of all, that was some of the best football I've ever seen in my life. Like, it was so disgusting because nobody had played any level of defense. But just watching like Patrick Mahomes and Baker Mayfield and like all
And
these
they're just
dudes
going
put up
back
like
and forth.
8 touchdowns. Like, yeah,
I'm
it was
screaming. During the WNBA All Star game last night, L. Duncan said, just like a girl's trip in Cabo, there was no D. And I said, this is when it's time to turn it off, wrap it up. It's time to wrap it up because Elle is the most unhinged person on television. I want to beat her. I want to be the most unhinged television person on television. She is an inspiration. Um,
Dark horses, as you were
Dark horse
saying.
schools. We've belabored this point, but Colorado obviously is a dark horse for us. But you have also put Houston on here, and I am very interested to hear how Houston is a dark horse because I also have beef with Houston, and it's only because they tried to block SMU from joining the Big 12. But anyways,
Yeah.
um,
So I think that for okay, so I'm just gonna be honest. A lot of Houston being on here is the coach. Like
mhm,
Willie Fritz is an amazing coach. He was 23-5 at Tulane in his final two seasons.
mhm,
If he was at Tulane last year, he took this job because of bigger, more money, etc. If he was at Tulane last year, I'm sorry, Aston Genty, you would have been out of the playoffs. Tulane would have been in the playoffs. That's how good he would have had them.
agreed.
He and so it's just one of those things where it's like, listen, sometimes, like Indiana last year, you can just say, I don't know everything about the team, but I know that coach and I know all of his teams are good and they're
And
going to be good
it,
again.
that's
And
enough.
they were bad last year because Houston was in one of the worst places you could possibly be. But they also added some good transfers. They have this coach. They were sort of showing some like fight at the end, and so it's just like if we're talking dark horse, I'm gonna pick the team that has one of, if not the best coach in the conference, and has
Yeah,
won other places, and is going into his second year where he's able to sort of make the program more himself. Now,
yeah.
am I a year
Third
early
best
on them?
transfer haul.
Maybe I could be a year early on them, but that's why it's dark horse. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like
don't
who
count them
knows?
out.
Like
Don't
yeah.
count them
So
out.
um, they sort of just sort of hide like they sort of struggled everywhere last year. But he's sort of he's bringing back his old offensive coordinator who was there when they won 11 wins.
Mm,
They and then the other piece of this, and I want to be clear, I'm not the biggest fan of this person, but if he stays healthy, he could day one be the best quarterback in the Big 12, and that's Connor Wegman from Texas A&M.
oh,
Like Connor Wegman sort of had an issue where like he was just always injured, and then Texas A&M was also coached really poorly, so they didn't do well with like, do we bring him back when he's injured? Does he play? Especially like, and to be fair, on his end, he didn't fully secure the job, right? So there is some of that, but the level of talent that he has and what he's able to do, that if he can stay healthy, he could day
you
one
can
be
make
the
some
best
things happen.
quarterback in the
Yeah,
conference. Like this
yeah,
is a quarterback that when he came in, people were saying first round draft pick. He has not lived up to that. He may never live up to that because certain people don't. But if he gets, even if he gets close to it in this conference, you know what I mean? Like that could do
yeah.
it. So you add the coach, you add Connor Wegman, and so he started 13 games. Right, that's a season. Essentially, in those 13 games, he amassed 2,700 yards and 19 touchdowns. Right, they're going to be playing lesser defenses. It's just the truth because he's not in the SEC anymore. They do have some talent, and so again, I don't know. It's hard to say, of course, but you have the coach, you have a quarterback who has at least the ceiling to go pretty far. You have a schedule where you only play Texas Tech and Baylor, but you play Baylor at the end of the season. So
Yeah.
like you have the chance to sort of work into your schedule and sort of be good. You had some solid transfers. I think that in a conference where literally anything can happen, I
Houston
think
can
that
rise to the
they're at
top.
least a dark horse.
Okay, period. Love that for Houston. Um, well, obviously our critical matchups are pretty in tune to what where this conversation has been going this entire time. So of course we're gonna be looking at Utah versus ASU. I mean, duh. We've gotta tune into that one. I don't know exactly what week that game is. Um, I can look it up real quick because I don't know which week that game is. Um,
Yeah, so
which week is that? Jesus, where is Utah? Sorry,
they're
I'm trying.
okay. I have it.
Oh,
So
there we go. Uh,
Utah, as a team that I sort of put in here as a sort of contender, I think there's two things that's going to happen. Either Utah is
week
going to be a
8.
real contender, or they're going to ruin someone's season because they play the other contenders. They play Arizona State, they play Baylor, they play Texas Tech. They are going to win one of those games. They play Texas Tech They play Texas Tech week 4. When you have a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of transfers, that's easily a game that they could
They
win,
can lose.
which could
Yeah,
then put Texas Tech in a place where they almost have to be perfect moving forward.
yeah.
They play Baylor week 9 or whatever, like one of the last
10.
games of the season, week 10. Um,
And they
that
play.
could be a thing that happened last year where like Baylor is supposed to be winning the conference, they're doing well, and then they lose 2 weeks before the season's over. So um, Utah versus Arizona State, Texas Tech, and Baylor are just games that I have eyes on. I think those are some of the most critical matchups because of obviously what we're
The
talking about
results.
here
Yeah,
as who's going to win and who's going to make it to the conference. And then another game that I have that I don't think has as much weight, but it's just going to be fun as hell, is Iowa State versus Kansas State in Ireland. That is week
cute.
0. That game is going to be very fun. That is a rivalry game. And they decided why not put it in Ireland? Like if you can go to Ireland for free, why not? You know what I'm
Why the
saying?
hell?
And Ireland
And I am
is
here for globalizing the game. I am here
yeah.
for it. Like,
And like I think it was last year. It was either last year or the year before because they've been going to Ireland for a couple of years. But either last year or the year before, the stadium's like internet went down, so they couldn't charge, and so they just gave out free beer. That is never happening in the United
oh
States.
yes.
That is never happening in the United States.
Well,
They're
one
like
thing I will say is in the United States, they are doing a lot more of the $1, $2, $3 like things at the stadiums, which I think is really cool. Because first of all, these tickets are high, the travel is high. Like the least you can do is let me buy a hot dog for $1 and a beer for $3. Like, please. Um, so good times. Basically, we say all this to say that the Big 12 is going to be a really, really fun conference. But here's one thing that I think both of us are standing 10 toes down on, and that is the number of playoff participants that the Big 12 will inevitably have. We had this conversation obviously when we were talking about if they were to expand to 16 teams, they guarantee Big 12 2 spots, whatever. Should they guarantee them 2 spots? Well, on average, they only have this many teams, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Even with all of this conversation, I personally, and I think, and we both believe that there's still only one of these mofos coming out of here and going to the playoffs.
yeah.
It's just one. Sorry. It's just one. I don't know who. I can't tell you all of that. I think our pick was
No.
Arizona State, though, if I'm not mistaken, when we talked about it a couple weeks ago. But
Well, if you remember, you have to pick one because this is all culminating into our playoff show at the end, and whoever
mhm.
we pick to win the conference is who we have to pick in that
And
playoff show. So
yeah. Hmm.
we are going to pick, but to your point of why it's only going to be one, right? The Big Ten had 4 teams get in last year, right?
Hmm.
To do that, all of those teams had two losses or
Or less.
less.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Meaning, when they went to the Big Ten championship game, there was a team that had no losses. There was a team that only had one loss. And so for for any conference to get 2 or more, you have to have multiple teams that have less than 2 losses because you cannot go to the conference championship game with 2 teams that have 2 losses and one of them gets a third.
Yeah.
Like that is step number one. Like the Big Ten and the SEC is always going to have 2 because they're always going to have 2 teams that don't have 2 losses.
That
It
don't
just
have
works
to.
out that way.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the math, it's hard to get in at 9-3. If you're 9-3, you have to win the conference. Like so. The thing is, if the Big 12 lives up to what we're saying it's going to be, which is literally any given Saturday, it is then also hard to believe that there's any team who gets through this unscathed. And if that is the
Yeah.
case, they're going to beat each other up. That's what they do every single year. It's going to be amazing to watch. We're going to love every second of it. But then at the end, like
It's just fun.
any good old time movie, you're going to be like, someone's going to be walking across the battlefield, checking the dead, and it's gonna be everybody. And
It's
it's
going
like
to be the survivor's
it's
remorse is
like
going to be at all
yeah,
time high.
like
No, that's
everyone's gonna be
yeah.
limping away. And so
It'll be cannibalism. They with the Big 12, unfortunately, they are in the position that a lot of other leagues are not in, and that is they quite literally have to cannibalize one another to get to where they need to get to because there's just not as much leeway for them as there are for the other conferences, like you mentioned. I will be genuinely surprised though if they manage to get two in. I will say I will be surprised. Um, but
and it's not gonna be every year, but yeah, I think that I think it's only one. So we have to put it on the table. We got to do it. We have to say it. We are a podcast that believes in speaking with our full chest.
are we?
My title game. I'm gonna go Utah. I'm gonna get freaky with this one. I'm gonna go
Ew.
Utah Baylor.
Gross. That is freaky. You are correct. I am freaked out, actually. I'm disgusted, actually, at that.
I'm gonna go. Mm, do I believe that one? This is hard.
I,
Utah for sure. But do I believe?
okay.
Do I really believe that one? But Arizona State, we just did this whole thing, and I talked myself out of all of them.
Yeah, no, okay, so why am I sitting here feeling the same way? I'm like, okay, we just sat here, we just talked about all these teams. Okay, here we go. Y'all got y'all's preview. Oh my gosh, and you're getting fed today, an hour and 20 minutes, please. And I'm like,
I
now that
talked
we're here, I'm
myself out
like,
of
I didn't
everybody.
even know I don't want to pick. Because here's the thing. Here's the thing that's hanging me up, right? Is
Right.
this is the Big 12. So we could very well, because this happened last year. These six or five or whatever teams that we discussed heavily for the Big 12 last year, I don't think any of them ended up even as contenders by the end of it. So it's like we could really be having this conversation just off of stats, vibes, and all this other stuff. And then it's Houston that ends up winning the Big 12. And it's like, well, shit, like, because they're just so mercurial. So I'm like, damn, I feel like no matter what I pick, I'm gonna be wrong because there's gonna be a dark horse. There's gonna be a team that fuck. It could be Colorado ends up in the Big 12. Like I don't know, or TCU might have a bounce back moment and they end up like
Yeah,
teams we haven't even
actually,
talked about. That's what I'm just like, fuck.
yeah, you just sort of stole mine because I'm like going through it, and I was thinking the same thing, and you literally like spoke what I was thinking into existence. I'm picking TCU. It's gonna be Utah TCU.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like
I'm
low key,
picking
I'm
Utah TCU.
low key. Okay,
TCU
okay.
also, we didn't talk about TCU at all, so this is
We
crazy.
didn't.
But they
Yeah.
also have a good quarterback. Their quarterback is returning. Last season, he threw for 3,900 yards. He had multiple 300 plus yard games. They are losing their top two wide receivers. But hold on.
But they had a great time in the transfer portal too. They
Yeah,
did.
but
I mean, they
they're losing their top two wide receivers, but they had four different receivers with over 600 yards. So they do still have good players coming
good
back,
ones. Yeah.
including a guy who, yes, he was their third or fourth receiver, but he was 10th in FBS with 19 and a half yards per catch, and 90% of his catches went for first downs. This is Eric McAllister. They brought in
Damn it.
wide receivers, one of which is 6'3". You know what I mean? Like they have tight ends, and um, their defense was really good last year.
Yeah.
Um, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I'm
Oh,
doing it.
see, that's what I
I'm
was like.
doing
And I know we didn't
Utah
talk about.
TCU.
Oh, and we didn't talk about TCU, and we didn't talk too much about Iowa State. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Iowa State. I picked them for the 12 team play. Didn't I? Didn't I? I mentioned Iowa at some point.
I
Maybe
can't
not Iowa
remember.
State.
Yeah, and Iowa State's another good one. I just think that they don't replace the offensive production. I like their quarterback, Rocco Becht,
Yeah.
and
Good.
but
Good guy.
yeah,
Okay, so you're gonna go Utah TCU.
yes,
I think that's fair. I think, and this is just because the Big 12 is ridiculous. This is like, I'm going off of, I'm going to tell y'all, I'm going off of who I want to see, okay? Not necessarily who may potentially actually end up there, but I don't think I'm going to be correct no matter who I pick. So I'm just going to go off of who I want to see, okay? Y'all ready? Because this is going, but also, if you've been listening to the show for a long time, the first team I say should not be a shock, and that is obviously Colorado. So I'm gonna
I
go
wouldn't
and
put that on
say
tape, but you
I wouldn't
explained your
do it
reasoning, so
because
I
it's the
understand
Big
why.
12, bro. It's the Big 12.
Yeah.
Like we're both gonna be wrong. Like it's the Big
I'm
12.
not
You know
gonna
what
be.
I'm saying?
I'm gonna get at least one of mine right.
You're gonna get at least one. That's why I said okay. So my vibes, my who I want to see pick is gonna be Colorado. But I think I'm also going to drink the Kool Aid with you and say that Utah is in it regardless.
Okay.
So I'm going to say Colorado, Utah, because at least I can be half right.
Yep.
At least I can be half right. Because,
Yeah.
but also, I don't completely think that Colorado is like unable to make it to the conference championship. Like, I don't think they're unable.
Yeah.
I probably would say like I would maybe believe a little bit more like in Utah as far as what we have on paper. But
Yeah.
I don't count.
And
I
and
don't
we
count any
didn't.
of these teams out really.
Yeah, and we didn't spend a lot of time talking about all these teams because it's just hard with them. But Kansas State is another team
Yeah.
who has a chance. They're bringing back Avery Johnson, who's
Oh,
an
a
electric
stud.
freshman, but he has to cut down on some mistakes. But he was a freshman, right? And so you should sort of expect to do that. Also, Kansas State was in a weird position because they outgained 12 of their 13 opponents, but lost a lot of those games. Like they just weren't sort of
They
closing.
were they were
Um,
there, but they couldn't finish.
and
Yeah.
and so like Kansas State is a team that is in this. Iowa State is a team that is in this. Like I mean,
Everybody's in it really, except for like
yeah,
your bottom feeders, your Cincinnati, your UCF, your whatever.
right.
Like everybody's in it. That's like you could really make a case for like the top like seven,
Yeah,
top seven or eight.
yep. I struggle with BYU. BYU would be a team that's in it, but their quarterback is likes to rape people, so he's no longer
Yeah,
on
which
the
is crazy
program.
because BYU,
Uh,
don't y'all have an honor code? Y'all have an honor code.
yes, yes.
So
Remember
y'all not supposed to be
we
acting a
talked.
certain
Yeah,
kind of way. I learned that on Real Housewives of
the,
Salt Lake City.
yeah, like they're not allowed to have sex
They're not allowed
at
to have
all.
sex. They're not allowed to drink. They're not allowed to
Yeah,
smoke. They're not allowed to be out past certain hours. Like that is military boot camp up there,
yeah,
and you over
and
here not only doing what you're not supposed to do, but doing it against people's will. Fuck
right.
you. Like,
Yes.
ew.
So
That's gross.
I struggle with BYU because they're losing their quarterback and fuck him. Yeah.
Hmm.
So like I think so. And honestly, what I should have done is I should have expanded the dark horse segment because there's a lot of them. Like I should have included Iowa State and Kansas State in that segment as well. But we sort of got to them a little bit in the end. We got to TCU as well. Um,
You guys are fed, okay? This is what we think about the
it's
Big 12.
yeah.
So, and we'll be talking about it all season because there's so many matchups just within the Big 12 that I am genuinely interested in. I actually have a content idea for you when we get offline.
Got
Um,
you.
but
Um,
yeah,
yeah. So anything can happen. But I am predicting Utah TCU with Utah winning. We are marking this because, like I said, we are building up to our final show, which is where we predict the playoffs. And as any good brand, because no one else does this, we stick to our picks. So when that playoff show comes,
I
I'm
be riding and I be dying for my picks. I do.
I'm picking Utah. So
Yeah,
um, that's our preview.
good
Uh,
times.
yeah, so let's talk about the stud buds. In our 2 minute drill, the WNBA All Star Weekend happened. First of all, the WNBA All Star Weekend, like personally for me, is like the walking embodiment of why almost all of my friends are women, and a lot of them are gay. But that's side note. That's not necessarily the point. But I do have a
Yeah,
lot of
he's like, I have a type, but I didn't mean to have a
yeah,
type.
but like it just looked so fun. And I'm sorry, none of the men's all-star games ever looked that fun. NBA, baseball, basketball, like
Didn't
they were
baseball just have All
having a
Star?
time.
They just had it, right?
Yes, they were having a time. The jokes, the like I mean literally Angel Reese was joking with Alyssa Thomas about Alyssa Thomas choke slamming her last year.
No, literally, they were running down the
Like
court, and she was like,
like it's just like
unserious nonsense.
I mean like the and so to provide a little bit more structure to what we're trying to say. The stud buds, if you don't know who they are, clearly
Oh,
you're
I'm going
not
to talk
on
about the
take.
step buds.
Okay, well,
Go ahead.
okay, go ahead. Tell them who the stud buds
Sorry.
are.
No, go ahead. You can go.
No, you got it. It's too late. I already gave it to
But
you.
you already started.
Tell them who the stud buds are.
Oh, but I wasn't going to start there. No, whatever. Okay, so basically,
Well, you don't have to. No, just tell them who they are, and then we can.
the stud buds are Natisha Heidemann and Courtney Williams. They both played for the Minnesota Lynx. They also were both in Unrivaled together as well. They started a Twitch account. and they called it Stud Buds, and they just sit and chat. And they've been
Yes.
doing this for the entirety of the season. Like they started like 2 or 3 weeks into the season. Um, but basically, they announced that they will be streaming the entire All Star weekend. And so they did a 72-hour straight stream where they basically took us everywhere.
And the funny thing about this is only one of them was an all star,
Only
which
one
is
was an
Courtney
All Star. So
Williams.
Courtney Williams
And
actually
Letitia
got an All
Heidemann
Star
is good,
bid.
but like she was an all star, and she basically told Tia, she was like, act like you were supposed to be there because you're going
Act
with me
like you
everywhere.
belong here, bitch. No, literally.
Like you got the invite too because if I'm there, you there. So like act like
Period.
you're supposed to be there.
Period. I mean, well, and that's the cool thing. So Courtney Williams got the All Star nod, as she should. She is leading in mid range shots. Actually, I don't think that's true. I think Paige is actually leading now. But the point is, Courtney Williams has been extremely productive. This is her ninth year in the WNBA, maybe her 10th. But this is her second time as All Star. Letitia Heidemann is essentially a bench player for the Minnesota Lynx. Okay, so she was not going to get an All Star bid. It's just not how the Minnesota Lynx are structured. But she's not trash. She just didn't get an All Star bid. The Minnesota Lynx already had three people. They had
Yeah.
Nafisa Collier, Courtney, and then they also got Kayla McBride in the last minute. So Natisha was not going to get an All Star bid, but that doesn't matter because Courtney was like, "Listen, we're going, and if I'm there, you there, we going together. I don't give a fuck. Like you
Through
gonna be over
friendship.
here right next to me." She did every red carpet, orange carpet, whatever color carpet. Did photos with Natisha and then also did them alone because she has to as All Star. Took Natisha with her on stage for the All Star for her All Star introduction. I mean, truly, like they were like
Yeah.
this the entire time. The entire time. There was a very beautiful moment on the stream where Natisha was telling Courtney that this was the best weekend of her life and that she was so happy that she was able to do this with her as because they are genuinely best friends like in real life. So there are a lot of like soft moments as well of like just seeing like, you know, how much this really means to Natisha because she was not all star. Um,
Hey. And Letitia may be a bench player, but at All Star Weekend she was hooping. She was
she
putting up shots, boy.
she was shooting her
I'm
shot.
telling you,
That's
she was
exactly
shooting
what
her
she was
shot.
doing. But
She was
so
trying to
let's
leave. She said, "I'm from around the way. I'm leaving here with something."
yeah, literally. Well, let's walk it back for a second, right? So WNBA All Star just happened this past weekend. The WNBA All Star is very similarly structured to NBA All Star, except they have a few less events, right? So they don't have a dunk contest, obviously, but the NBA needs to do away with it too because niggas don't even be doing it for real. Not the point. They don't have a Rising Stars game or anything like that. They just have the skills competition, the 3 point competition, and then they have the game. Also, the skills competition is done singularly. They're not done as groups like they do it for the NBA. I think they do like groups of three or something like that for the skills competition. For the WNBA, is straight one person passing, shooting, and shooting a layup. Anyways, so all of those festivities started this past Friday. And typically, when you have a WNBA All Star, I mean, obviously, there's lots of content that's being created by the WNBA themselves, by each of the separate teams that have All Stars there. And obviously, the All Stars themselves are creating content and whatever. But that's pretty much all you get. Like, unless you're there at All Star, like, you really don't fully kind of like get a feel for how things are. And so it was just such a big deal what the Stud Buds were doing as far as the stream because they were showing you parts of All Star that you literally don't get to see. The first night they got there, this was the night before everything started. So Thursday night they got there. They all were already there. They're going out. They're in the streets. They're having fun. They're partying. Courtney Williams is throwing her ass
Listen,
on everybody who was willing to catch it, and that includes Angel Reese. We would have never in our lives gotten a
no.
video of Courtney Williams twerking on Angel Reese if it was not for Stud Buds. We got video evidence of Alyssa Thomas. She does actually drink. We didn't know it, but we know now because she was taking shots on the stream. And it was funny because it was becoming a running joke that
You
Stud
see
Buds was
Kelsey Plum
touting.
taking chaser, taking crown to the
She
head,
drank
no
the Crown
chaser.
Everybody said that was the last time we saw her on the streams. So, and
Paige
then
was
what was
drunk.
also funny was people's like relationships were being confirmed on Stud Buds. Like a lot of people, it's been confirmed that Marina Mabry and Sanaya Rivers are in a romantic relationship with one another. Paige and AZ got confirmed, but they were confirming it anyways. But it also
Yeah,
got confirmed
that
on
was also
stream.
confirmed because they got paid to do the celebrity girlfriend thing
Exactly.
that they've
Yeah.
been doing like how well do you know your NBA boyfriend? How well do you know?
Exactly.
Like they got paid to do that with
Yeah.
for AZ. So like they was just confirming. They was confirming in every which way. If it was
Well, and the thing
if
is,
they could confirm it, they did that weekend.
and then the thing is, like AZ, it went viral like 3, 4 weeks ago that AZ has a phone case that says Paige Becker's girlfriend. Like
Yeah.
they weren't trying to hide. They just
No.
didn't. They just didn't say. I mean, I knew that that was Paige's girlfriend when she showed up in the girlfriend outfit, sitting at the table for the drunk. I
Yeah.
said,
Like
"That's
stop
your
playing.
bitch." I was
Yeah.
like,
Like
"That's your bitch.
that's a
That
girlfriend.
that
What are
is
you
your
talking
woman."
about? She got the first hug and everything. And the thing is,
I was like,
like,
"That is your girlfriend."
it's literally just like a thing where it's just like a respect thing, right? Where like,
Yeah.
because like, and the difference is they just didn't answer questions where Dallas not there no more. The Dallas couple that be lying to us.
Oh, the Dallas
Um,
couple. They don't be lying. You talking about
yes, they
Dejanay
do. Yes,
And
Dejanay.
Alyssa?
Yes,
What are
Dejanay
they
and
lying about?
they said they wasn't dating in college. You a damn lie.
Oh,
You a damn
because they weren't
lie.
allowed
You
to.
I understand, right? There's a reason that Hayes and AZ was hiding it too. It's sort of just like a respect thing that you do when you're teammates. Like you just don't, you try not to bring
You all do too
drama.
much. Yeah, of
A
course.
lot of,
Yeah.
especially some older coaches are homophobic. I don't know if Jim
Yeah,
is
of
or not,
course.
but it
Yeah.
wouldn't
Ken
surprise me
Lucky
because he's
was,
older. Ken is
yeah.
very open about that, but also you just don't want the distraction. So a lot of them they don't do girlfriend things, relationship things in public until you're no longer playing together. It's just like a thing that happens in a lot of sports, right? Like
Well, no,
it's
it's
just
just
a
women's sports.
well, when I mean a lot of sports, there are various women's sports.
I
It
know.
happens
I'm
in
just
soccer.
saying.
It happens in
Just in women's sports in
softball.
general,
Like,
because,
yeah,
these niggas not dating each other.
right.
But
So,
yes.
like, but like in the various women's sports, this happens, right? Like, there are women's soccer players like on the U.S. women's national team who were dating each other, and they weren't like holding hands and kissing at
Oh,
camp
yeah, yeah.
at the Olympics. Like it's sort of like an athlete we sort of respect thing, but like the singular second they weren't playing together, it was out there.
They
But
having
on the
babies. They're
stud butt
building homes.
stream, boy, if
They're
they
doing
could,
all the
if
things.
yeah, yeah,
The fun thing about it at the end of the day was it did really feel like you got a backstage pass to the WNBA All Star. I'm a firm believer that this will not be happening next year. Don't ask me why. I just feel like it's not going to happen next year for probably a few different reasons. But the other thing that came
yeah.
out of
I
All Star
mean,
Weekend, well, it's
I'm
not going to
not.
be as authentic. I'll say it like that. They'll probably end up having it, but the authenticity is kind of what caused it to blow up in a way. I don't know how many subscribers they had when they came into this, but they ended up with 67,000 by the end. And when I
Yeah,
look at the streams, and I do not watch streams, that is something that I find deeply boring. The only streams I will watch are like people playing Sims. That's the only, and even still, I pop in and pop out. Like I'm not sitting and watching it all day. I watched the stream for 2 days straight. I started it on Saturday morning and I did not turn it off until this morning. I watched
yeah,
the stream or excuse me, Friday morning, and I watched the stream for 2 days straight. And I mean, they announced breaking news about Unrivaled on the stream.
yeah. I
Like,
mean, they had Megan Rapinoe asking about straps, like,
and I saw that moment in real time. I was like, man, what? And then even
yeah,
Stu Burke was like, I heard y'all don't hear Alec people. I said, like it's and even like in the interviews, a lot of the players in the interviews were talking about stud buds, and they were
yeah.
talking about whether or not they were avoiding them or looking for the opportunity to be on the show. And I mean, everybody was on it. Caitlin Clark was on it for a little bit. Asia Wilson was on it for a little bit.
Man,
Lisa
you
Leslie and
know,
Nafisa Collier in the club. Like,
yeah. I
it's
hate.
crazy.
First of all, Nafisa Collier is hilarious. Like I don't know. I
So
don't remember how
unintentionally
old she
hilarious.
is, but like she calls
She's
them her
27.
boys. She calls them her boys. Like they're like, wow, these are
Mm-hmm.
like my boys, which is hilarious. But then also, what was I gonna say? I don't remember what I
Kathy
was gonna say.
Engelberg was on the stream at one point. She was dancing with them to Nuck If You Buck.
Yeah.
That's insane. But
Oh,
the,
what I was gonna say is I hate that Caitlin Clark and her whole thing is racist because Caitlin Clark is, and I say this with all due respect, Caitlin Clark is a little bit on the spectrum in a way where she's hilarious, and if she wasn't so racist, like her content would be so funny. When she was on there talking about, I watched it for 3 hours straight, like she's just naturally in a way, like the way she communicates, it's funny, and I just wish that I could enjoy it. But fuck her. But
I'm
like
sorry.
anytime
So
she's
Caitlin
on
Clark
camera, it's
gives me like the annoying kid in class who always has to say something energy.
because
Like that's
she's
what
on
she
the
gives me.
spectrum a little bit.
Well, but I'm saying like in a way where I'm not entertained.
Yeah, she's yeah,
Like
she's
she was being annoying for me. She was being kind of annoying. Like they did the WNBA countdown prior to the game, and obviously she's the captain of her team, and she was talking about how like she wanted to get a tag and she wanted to get ejected, and she's going to talk shit to the refs, and she hopes that they just take it because it's fine. And I was just kind of like, okay,
Yeah, and if she
girl.
wasn't,
And
the
then like
other
they were
things
asking
it
them
would be
questions, and
more.
she kept interrupting the FISA, whatever. It was just even Fee was looking like, girl, okay, like she has the type of personality where like
Some of it's because she's on the
she
spectrum.
has no aura. That's just what it is for me. Like she
Yeah,
does not have any aura like at all.
yeah,
She's funny, kind of, but
in a way where when she's not trying to be, it's funny.
unintentionally. She's
Um,
very unintentionally funny.
yeah,
Um,
but the rest of her is gross.
yeah.
Anyways, yeah.
There's also it's
So,
also going viral that she does not like her boyfriend, which I think is hilarious.
well,
Which I think is
um,
hilarious.
last
But
thing
the
on
other
this because
thing,
we're running super long.
yes, the other thing to come out of this, I'm gonna do my best to keep this short. So they had a CBA meeting prior to all the festivities. One of the first things they did was have a CBA meeting. It was one of the highest attended CBA meetings by active players in the history of the WNBA. I think they said they had to bring in more chairs for everybody to have somewhere to sit. Um, a lot of the attitudes that came out of that meeting was that it was a waste of time, that it didn't really get anything, a lot of things accomplished. Stewie was very honest in saying like most of the time was spent during doing introductions, like they didn't even really like fully get deep into actual conversations. NECA had made some comments about it. Angel basically said that she fully plans on getting even more involved with the players association because of the meeting, because of how much is really going on and how much the players really need, because this is not just about salaries. Salaries is a very, very big part of it, but there are a lot of elements of the CBA that just need to be reworked. And so the overarching attitude was that the league doesn't want to work with the players. They don't want to work with them. They're offering them things that are in the space of disrespectful, and there is even a conversation about Unrivaled and basically pushing Unrivaled out, and trying to be basically the only and Athletes Unlimited. They are talking about both AU and Unrivaled, and basically the WNBA kind of has this energy like they feel like they should be the only league in America. Um, and so with all that being said, the players decided that prior to the game on Saturday night, they were going to wear shirts that say "Pay us what you owe us." Shirts made by the WNBA Players Association, basically sending a message saying like, "Listen, we're not playing with y'all." And then after the game, during the post game interviews, Brittany Sykes was walking around in the background with a sign that said "Pay the players." And so that has started some very ridiculous and stupid discourse about people wanting to get paid, which I don't have a thought on that. But anyways, I just highly suggest researching what it is that these women are looking for, because one of the main things too is revenue sharing. The NBA players get 50% of the revenue that the NBA gets. The WNBA players get 9.3%, and everybody wants to keep talking about, well, they're not profitable, they're not this, they're not that. Look up the difference between profit and revenue, okay? And then also, they're making more money now.
Yeah,
Like they're making more money now. They won't be in a league that loses money for too much longer.
yeah.
They're
I
going to be
mean,
in a
and
league making a
yeah.
lot of money.
I
So
don't exactly know exactly how it's paid out, but just in the last year, because I don't remember it was when exactly it was announced, $1 billion media rights deal was announced, and then roughly $1 billion in expansion fees was just
and
announced
they're
last
about to
month
be a
because
league.
it was 300,000 each team, and there was three
Yep,
teams. So I don't know if that's a one time payment or how exactly it works, but that's 2 bill right there that they
that's
just
$2 billion, and the league itself is projected to be worth billions within the next couple of years. The
yeah
league itself, because now we have two, not just one, two teams that are worth $500,000, and then we're about to add all the rest of these teams. They are already building their brands. They're already building the fandom. They're already the ticket sales are through the roof. This jersey sales are through the roof. These women are not getting one dime for their jersey sales.
do you,
Their
and
jersey
yeah,
sales.
and I don't want to comment on this because we're going to be talking about this later. Like, to be honest, there's no new information that came out from this. And
No.
so, like, I know we're eventually going to get information and want to talk about it, and we're running
Yeah.
long, so I don't have a lot of things to say about this. But the one thing that I will say is it's easier now to, like, it's not going to be easier to get revenue share when they are profitable because they're going to want that money. They're going to see that money, and then they're really
Correct.
going to be losing it. You work on these things now. And the last thing I want to say is, unless I'm wrong, and I don't think I am, they're not asking for 50%. Like there's so much of this like misunderstanding when we compare
Hmm.
them to the NBA. And
They
it's
want to be
like
paid as much as the
they're
NBA players. No, they don't.
asking for, they're seeing this and they're saying, we want a similar structure, not we want their money. They're not asking for a $300 million contract. Maybe that happens in 10, 20, 30 years, but like they're not asking for that. They're just asking to be closer to that because that is a model that exists in a professional sport that is the same as theirs. The only difference is one is men and one is women. So that's all I'm going to say about this because otherwise we're going to be here forever. Pay them what you owe them. If you don't want them to be paid,
You're
something's
misogynistic
very,
and weird,
yeah.
and you can turn your TV off because we don't fucking need you or your viewership if you don't believe these people need to be paid. This is ridiculous because this is conversation. Somebody tweeted this, and I'm going to stick with it. They said you there should not really be too much discourse being had with people who don't believe women should be playing sports in the first place. And there's a lot of people who are trying to enter into this discourse and they're wannabe economists who just genuinely believe that women
Yeah.
shouldn't even be playing sports, let alone getting paid to do so. So I'm not having fucking
Yeah.
conversations with you idiots. At the end of the day, they're making more, they stand to make more money. If the league itself stands to make more money, then the players stand to make more money as well. That is how that
Also,
goes. Because who the fuck is watching? Nobody's watching
yeah.
Kathy Engelberg. We're watching the players play the game. So if they're not, they're the product. They're what's important.
Yeah.
There's what's drawing people to the league. They deserve to be paid as such, and they've been deserving of it this entire time. But you damn sure think that they're not going to ask for it now when they've quite literally quadrupled their
In the last couple
values
of
in
years,
the
yeah.
last year, in the last 2 years. You must be out your fucking mind if you think they're not going
It,
to ask for their
especially because
fair
they,
share.
yeah. And the last thing
And
that I gotta say about it is, do you know how lame you sound counting the WNBA's pockets? Like, you know how lame? Well, they're
do
not
you know how much
technically,
energy
they're
is
not
required to do
profitable.
that?
Like, I mean, well, if you look at their most recent tax statements, their return on investment, like, shut up.
Like,
Nobody cares
shut up.
about
And
that.
also, again, none of y'all are
And,
economists. None of y'all
and
are.
also, you only bring that up most of the time when you get into detail like that. You bring that up to conceal hate. You know what I'm saying?
You
Like,
bring
you
it
bring
up
that
as
up
a
like,
reason to not pay these people, and that's
yeah,
crazy.
like you no, you're not worried. You're not worried about that in any other time. You're not
Like,
looking at
Apple
the
wasn't profitable
yeah.
initially either. They still had to pay the people who was putting the microchips in the cell phones. Shut up. Shut up, because you sound stupid. How many businesses were profitable and had all these crazy revenue streams within their first while they were building? They didn't. But guess the fuck what? Nobody was showing up at them places working for free. Nobody was showing up at these places working for less than what they deserve. So what are you talking about? You're not talking about nothing for real. You're just talking. So shut up. Thank you so much. Somebody was like, yeah, I don't see why the players are doing all of this. This is really up to the Players Association. What do you think WNBA stands for?
Well, to our last 2 minute report because this is about to get real disrespectful. um, speaking of players associations, I was gonna do something fun, and then I saw something else that I had to talk about. The president of the NFLPA stepped down, and
Oh,
then
yes,
the
I saw
current
this.
NFLPA chief strategy officer, who was a previous president, stepped down, and it's basically the core of it is that they were hiding things. They were agreeing with the NFL to like hide things. So one of them, let's see, Lloyd Howe resigned as executive director on Thursday after weeks of negative headlines surrounding his leadership, that the findings, including reports by ESPN, the findings included the NFLPA reportedly agreeing to a confidentiality agreement with the NFL to hide information about its arbitration decisions, which is not good, as well as concerns about potential conflict of interest because someone that Howe worked with outside of this was trying to become an NFL owner. You're on the side of the players, but you want to become an NFL owner. Um, and then there's also other things like on July 17th, a second arbitration ruling came to light. This one involving a grievance won by the NFL against the NFLPA over fake injuries. The original grievance in 2023 stemmed from a comment made by Treader, a former union president, who suggested players could fake injuries as a contract negotiation tactic. Um,
What?
so basically, they were bad at their jobs. They were hiding things from the players, and they were, in sort of a way, doing the NFL's bidding. I don't care about none of that. All of that is bad. I'm sorry. I know that I be doing stupid things. Lloyd Howe, one of the things that got him fired, He was making $4 million. One of the things that got him fired is he went and took two people to Magic City, a strip club in Atlanta, and he charged his expenses on the account of the NFLPA. Okay, here's my issue with this. He charged $2,700. He made $4 million. He charged $2,700 for three people at Magic City. All you gave them was $2,700. You using someone else's money. I know this is the wrong lesson, but you're using someone else's money, and you stopped at $2,700 for three people. You wasn't even in there making it rain. Like, you were just in there being stingy, and you make $4 million. You could have paid $2,700 by yourself. If you're gonna be fired for using the company money at a strip club, you should be spending bands. You lost a $4 million job because you wanted to be stingy in a strip club.
Yes.
That's insane to me. I'm sorry.
Unserious
If
as
it
hell.
wasn't my money, I'm not, and it's three people. I'm just not, and I understand some people are like $2,700. That's a lot of money. I understand that this is a dumb rant, but you make $4 million. You're using a company card at a strip club, and you spent $2,700. I went to Magic for my bachelor party. I spent more than $2,700. It cost more than $2,700 to get the section, and then I took spending money. You make $4 million. You lost your job by being stingy.
Yes.
Crazy.
I'm screaming at this. I hate that I have to end the show on this note, but I also feel like it is very important that I put this on my platform because there's some weird shit going on. But I found out this morning that somebody has been taking my content from my TikTok page and using it for engagement farming. And their follower count is growing by the minute, actually. They are going viral with my content. Um, it's unfortunate because it's content that I made years ago, but basically, yeah, give you guys some context. I worked at Crumble Cookie for like, I don't even know, maybe like 6 months of my life, not a very, very long time. And I started making vlogs and posting them on TikTok because I noticed that there was a gap in content about working at Crumble. I found out later it's because Crumble employees are not allowed to make content. And so I was one of the only people who actually posted about it because it's it was a code of conduct thing that I was not aware of at the time. Once I found out it was not you couldn't do it, then I stopped doing it. But this person went deep into my archives on my TikTok page and downloaded my vlogs from working at Crumble and have been posting small, like 4 to 6 second clips from the vlogs and claiming that they worked at Crumble for 4 years and that they are being deported by ICE. And they have this long ass cockamamie story about how they're being deported and that this is happening to them. They're getting sent back to Mexico. It's all Crumble's fault, and that they have this tea on Crumble that they're going to drop online. A lot of people have been in their comments asking them to do a story time. I can't wait to see how they do that because they're using my videos in my face. So I would just love if this account could be reported because TikTok has also claimed that that account is not doing anything wrong, even though it's very obvious that they are using my content. And so now I have to go to battle with TikTok about this. But they have a video that has reached 1 million views. And if you guys know anything about what monetizing on TikTok means, that means that they're at a point where they will probably be able to cut a check using my name, image, and likeness. Oh my gosh, wow. Not my name, but my image and my likeness. So yeah, I'm just a little pissed off because if somebody gets cut a check using my content, that's gonna be a problem.
Yep. I hate that that's happening for you. I hit spam on all the videos. I reported all the videos, so hopefully TikTok does its job.
And I had somebody just now while we were on the show DM me on Instagram, someone who I have not spoken to and I don't know how long, saying, "Hey, there's an account that's pretending to be you." Like, they're going so viral, they're hitting the For You pages of people who I haven't spoken to in years. They are going that viral because they posted it yesterday or 2 days ago. And like I said, it already has 1 million views. And it's a lie about being sent back to Mexico. And I'm so sorry. I'm not even trying to be funny. I I look like I could be an immigrant, but a Mexican one? Like that don't even seem believable. Like you could have at least picked like a country that would be believable that I would be from.
Yeah, that's insane.
But anyways,
Well,
it's just very very upsetting, and I really I need TikTok to nip this in the bud immediately. This person, I looked at this person's account this morning. They had 1,200 followers. They already have 1,500. It's only been 3 hours. Like
yeah,
this person is building a following off of my. I don't even have that many followers on TikTok.
yeah. They're probably fake numbers as well. But the moral of the story is don't steal people's content. Don't be cheap at Magic City. And
Oh
the
well.
stud buds are the greatest thing that's happened to the WNBA. We will catch you next week with another preview. I think we're doing the ACC next week.
Something
But
like
as
that.
always, thanks for listening. This is preview season. Football is around the corner. Share the podcast with a loved one, with a friend, with a coworker, with an enemy. It doesn't matter. Share the podcast. Share the YouTube. You can find us at on YouTube and IG at Get Defensive Sports Network, on TikTok at GD Sports Network. Um, we'll catch you next week.
Bye guys.